Hi and welcome to Lois and Morgana Davidson Art. It's Lois here, and today I'm going to be painting this line and wash watercolour painting of a yacht just coming into a quiet, peaceful harbour with a beautiful sort of grey sky. We've got these two harbour arms. The one on the left is a little bit nearer, the one on the right a bit further away, with the little yacht coming into the harbour, and I think it gives a really nice tranquil composition. Here's my line work. I drew it out in pencil first and then in waterproof fine liner. I use Faber-Castell artist pit pens. I find them really nice and really useful. If you're interested in having or downloading a copy of the sketch and the line work, then those will be available on Patreon, as will the reference photographs. So follow the link below if you're interested in that. So I'm wetting the whole sky, leaving a few dry patches so I get some soft and hard edges, and I'm using a Princeton Aqua Elite Mottler brush. It's a 1.5 inch Mottler, and it's a lovely brush for painting skies. I'm going to start off with a light value mix of raw sienna just pulled across the lower part of the sky and then into the water below as well, and the headlands. And then I switched the camera off because I had to get something and forgot to switch it on, but all I've done is use exactly the same brushwork with a mid-value mix of Payne's Grey, getting it fairly dark at the top, and then using the same brushwork that I did with the raw sienna just to let the paint run out on the brush and blend wet in wet across the page. And then using what's left in the brush and horizontal brush strokes to bring the water across in the harbour where everything is a lot calmer. And then I'm going to put some darker paint across the bottom just to increase the intensity and the tone. Everything will dry back a little bit lighter than this, but I think that's okay for the sea, the sky and the harbour. So now I'm going to leave it to dry completely. I'm using Saunders Waterford cold pressed watercolour paper. It's 11 inches by 15 inches or about 28 centimetres by 38 centimetres. It's taped to my board and my board's at an angle of about 30 degrees. It's dry now, and I'm going to begin to paint in the distant headland first, and I'm going to paint it in wet. I've got my darkest tones there from the line work, and my textures are already there, so it's just a matter of putting in some colour into those areas and varying the colour a bit. I'm using a size 14 Escoda Perla round brush. It's got a nice point and it's a really good all-round workhorse brush. I'm starting off with raw sienna, and then I'm using a green that I've mixed from cobalt blue and lemon yellow and added a little tiny bit of burnt sienna to neutralise it a bit. And I will work with these colours, adding a little bit of maybe a little bit more yellow or a little bit more blue or a little bit more raw sienna to the mix, and changing it up just to get some variation in the colour for this headland now, or harbour arm. Now this harbour arm is further away than the one on the left, so I'm keeping my colours a little bit paler than I intend to use over on the left side, and that should help to increase the look of depth and distance. And now back over here and using the same colours and trying to build up this gentle slope and trying to get the look of all this sort of the overgrown harbour arm with this tangle of sort of weeds, wildflowers, grasses, bushes, things like that just run along a little slope that leads down to the water from the path that runs across the top. With line and wash, as I said before, I've put in most of the important darkest tones with the fine liner to get those nice shadows, which gives us some differentiation between the different bushes and sort of clumps of plants. And so just working around these with the colour, trying to leave a few little patches of unpainted paper, because at the end I'll probably pop a a few dots of red here and there, just for some lovely bright flowers. I'm trying to keep this nice and fresh. So making sure the colours are fairly vibrant, a little bit richer and a little bit darker toned or darker value in the front or across the foreground. Bringing just a few flowers and plants over the line work across the tape at the bottom, just to curve that harbour arm just round towards us a bit more, and that just helps to close off the bottom of the composition and lead the eye into the painting. So now I've decided to paint the boat red. I think a little red boat will look really pretty and stand out nicely against the fresh colours of the harbour arms. This is cadmium red, a nice bright red, using a size 2 round brush just to paint in the hull. And then there's some sort of signage that's white and red, probably maybe something to do with the information from the harbour, maybe a depth level or some sign of some sort. And so I'm just going to paint that in with red and white or unpainted paper. I might use a little bit of white ink in that later. And I'm just going to dot in a few lovely bright red flowers in the foreground on this harbour arm here into the white gaps that I've left when I painted in the foliage, the weeds and the grasses there. And now just a little bit of Payne's grey just to darken up and add some shadow around the foreground, just in and around where the tangle of weeds are thickest. I've already got quite a lot of dark there from the initial line work and the ink, so I only need a little bit just to bring that area together. And then just a few touches of brown on some of the rocks and stones that are at the base of this harbour arm where the slope meets the water. Putting in a few little bits of this darker brown here and there too. Now I'm just going to finish it off with a Posca pen. This is white acrylic, and I'm going to colour in the sail. I'm going to put a bit of this acrylic ink into the white bits of that sign, then maybe a little bit across the top of the boat as well. Just to dab into those two distant yachts, and then there's this sort of mast or part of the rigging that I'm going to make white as well. Now, this is where I thought I was finished, but I suddenly realised that I'd forgotten an important stage of the painting. If I zoom you in, I'll just show you that I've used masking fluid over the red of the boat and the red of the sign, because what's happened is I need to darken up the sea underneath the horizon slightly, and if I do that I'm in danger of smudging that red paint. So I've used masking fluid, and now I'm going to use my Payne's grey and a flat brush and just bring along a little bit of darker toned water across the horizon carefully. Trying to keep it fairly straight. And then I can go in and soften that hard line into the water, just drag that tone, bring it down a little bit further, just soften it back. And that's better. That just brings the painting together a lot more. It's just a subtle touch. And as I say, I should really have done that before painting in the boat, but no harm done. Masking fluid can be very, very useful. Just make sure you only ever use it on a dry paper. And I'm going to pull a little bit of shadow underneath the boat and behind that harbour arm there to show the sort of wake of the boat as it comes into the harbour. So that's the finished painting. I'm going to remove the tape and see how it looks with a clean white border. And I'm really pleased with it. It's a very simple but effective painting because I made sure the perspective was right for the harbour arms. Then it works really nicely and it's nice and tranquil. So I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you found it helpful. If you're interested in having a go at painting this, then please follow the link below to my Patreon page where there is the exclusive sketch and line work for you to download and refer to, or copy or trace if you prefer, and the original reference photograph. So thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much to everyone that supports us on Patreon. And please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.